Welcome to Leaguecast.
Blinded by the shadow your light casts.
Headshot.
Let's go. Welcome to the League of Trade.
Hello and welcome to episode 394 of the Leaguecast podcast. I'm your host, Aiden Frost Rockarts, and although we don't have Nick this week, joining me is Colton Blue Basket Sweat.
Hey, it's me. I'm here. You know, I don't have work or school currently, so I'm available to do podcasts anytime.
Hell yeah, poggers. So this week on the show, we'll be talking about, well, there's no real news, so we'll mainly just be talking about jungle meta, LCK and LEC playoffs, a new roundtable question, maybe emails. There's 20 of them. Nick and I were discussing if we should just do them as like a separate thing. Who knows? Depends on how long the show's going. And more on this episode of Leaguecast. Colton, how was your week?
My week's pretty good. Basically all set with my apartment now, so everything's, like furnished and set up, and I've got plates and all that good stuff. Had a little get together with some people I met that are in the League of Legends club at UTD. So that's been fun, meeting people. Now I just need to get a job, so that's top of my priority list. Been playing a lot of League because, hey, I don't have a job or school, so a lot of free time. I'm D2 like 40 points right now on my main. Been fluctuating between there and like 80 points, like climbing and falling and climbing and falling. It's a little tough. My last game, our bot lane had 22 deaths in a 22-minute game. So, you can't win them all. That being said, I've been playing a lot of Kha'Zix again, and damn is he fun. I've been winning a lot of games on Kha'Zix. Fuck playing tanks, just play assassins instead. But yeah, that's pretty well my week. I don't think really a whole lot else happened, so I'll turn it over to you way up there in the north. How are things going, Aiden? How's your week?
As for League stuff, I've been playing a fair amount on my Smurf being my D4 account. I've been playing with Trevor a lot, trying to get him back into the game sort of thing. I was mainly spamming supports, being Alistar or Nautilus. I think Nautilus is one of the best supports in the game right now. And then recently I've decided to only play Poppy, because Poppy's always been one of my favorite characters in the game. So I've been spamming a lot of Poppy, and she's a lot of fun. She counters a lot of characters in the current meta, so I think she's pretty solid.
It's weird how hypermobility is meta, and people who counter that are strong.
Yeah, I laned against a Fiora. I've never had an easier lane I think I've ever played. She tries to use her 2-second dash, dead. It's such a hard counter. It's actually gross. Other than League stuff though, I started doing school stuff today. My classes opened up. Doing a 1-year college post-grad certificate sort of thing for marketing. So that's fun. Lots of courses. Textbooks are expensive, but I'm finding my PDFs online pretty fine so far. So that's always good. That's the best thing about university and college. And
just
other than that,
free textbooks online.
Exactly. Fuck paying $200 for a textbook. That's actually that's stealing at that point.
Yeah, so I heard, I was reading something, and I guess the authors of them normally sell over the rights in a way that they don't get royalties, but they get to keep it. So if you email the author directly, they'll probably have a PDF of it that they can send, and they don't care because they're not getting any money if the company sells the actual book.
Yeah, I read that for a lot of papers and stuff that people write if they're behind a paywall for
thing.
some.
Yeah, with research papers published in magazines and stuff.
Yeah, other than that though, not much else. Just a little bit of League, a little bit of everything else, a little bit of other games. The good stuff. Yeah, so let's jump into the show. So there's no news this week, no patch, no nothing. Nothing really major that came up news-wise. Only people bitching about stuff, right? Being a greedy company, all that stuff. So the regular garbage that we see every week. So let's jump right into the Rate Us 5 Starries section. I want you to read the first one because it has a good title to it.
Okay, so the name of this review is Colton's a Nerd. which is true. I am a huge nerd. This is from Felix. He says, been listening for about 3 years now. Helped me finally take over my silver promos and hit gold for the first time in the 6 years I've been playing this game. Congratulations. Love the podcast. Pretty good, guys. 10 out of 10. Would bang. I'm going to assume he's talking about me, being that I was in the title. And,
Yeah.
I agree. I am a 10 out of 10.
Hell yeah. Our second braiding review, whatever, is from the Bice, and he says the title of it is I'm gonna hear myself on Leaguecast. Hear my tone, because that means there's a question mark at the end of that sentence. He says this podcast is great. Having a weekly show by cool, down-to-earth dudes helps my weekly driving go by. I appreciate the humor, corny puns, and dedication to discussing League. I've learned a lot and implemented some things that have improved my game. The general discussion also helps me discover new games from time to time, which is cool. Keep up the good work. Smiley face. Thank you, the Bice. Do you want to read the third one?
Yeah, I'll take it. The last one is from Dragonclaw26, and the title is Love the Cast. Don't worry about the quality on the 828 episode. It was great. Appreciate the content, as is always S tier. Keep it up. Was it like an audio quality thing?
So like you had like your mic was like a little bit echoey because you're in a new room, obviously, with like not a lot in it. So like yours, and you also were just setting up your mic for the first time in that room. And then
Gotcha.
Nick was using his webcam mic, which we didn't know.
Okay,
So-
gotcha. Well, hopefully it's a little better now that I have like furniture.
No, it sounds a lot better.
Okay, cool. So
It
yeah,
literally
that's-
just sounded like kind of, when your room's really open, it like sound can bounce everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so thanks for those reviews, guys. If you guys want to send in your reviews on, what do we have it on, like iTunes, not on Podbean?
iTunes, Stitcher, anything, any of your podcasting apps, we appreciate it.
Yeah, and then we'll read them on the show, unless they're actually an email in disguise.
Yeah, true. So we might as well jump right into Champion Spotlight, which I'm gonna do. We're gonna do positional spotlight this week because I want to talk about jungle, Colton, because you're a jungler, and I've been getting Trevor to play jungle. And I want to talk about the meta, what's good in the meta, why it's good in the meta, etc.
Okay. So yeah, jungle right now is very lopsided in that Krugs is better than Gromp, Raptors are better than Wolves, and Red is better than Blue. So your one side of the jungle is severely weighted better in terms of strength of buff, gold, and experience. It does take longer to clear, and it's AoE camps. So for that reason, typically good AoE junglers are strong right now. That's why you see the Sejuanis, the Gragas's, even Zac I think is pretty good right now. Them all being tanks as well. But like in general, that's I think the defining characteristic of the current meta of jungle is that red side is stronger, and so you need to be able to clear red side efficiently or counter people who do the red side. So with that, you can play, assassins kind of like the Elise, Lee Sin, even like a Rek'Sai with like an early Hail of Blades, and go for a quick like 3 camp clear and start invading or ganking, because they're going to be taking a longer path through their red side. But I think typically the safe thing to do is just play one of those like beefier AoE junglers that can clear that red side efficiently.
Yeah, I was looking at like win rates for junglers on this patch, and the number one. So I'll still read you the top 10 just as like a idea. So like a lot of those do fit in there, but I think there are some ones that like are kind of outliers, which I think are interesting to talk about. So it's Nunu, Vi, Volibear, Dr. Mundo, Kha'Zix, Echo, Zac, Shaco, Twitch, Karthus is number 10. So like I think there's some ones that I actually don't think are good junglers. Like I don't think Shaco's actually a good jungler. I don't think Mundo and Volibear are actually good junglers, but I think the rest of the list are like actually pretty good as like a core pool.
Yeah, so I mean I think Mundo is actually better than he seems. It's definitely a different playstyle, but the thing is like tanks in general are pretty good. And not only is he one of the strongest tanks in the game, but with his cleaver, he can dual tanks. which is really strong. He's got innate tenacity, strong clear, plenty of regen. His dragon take is really good as well with the cleavers. As well as like he fits into poke comps, he fits into engage comps, he fits in disengage comps. Like he's a very well-rounded character that fits into a lot and is a pretty low barrier to entry of just like hit your Q.
I've also been playing a lot of I've played a lot of solo queue, so have you. Maybe you can see similar things as I do, but I feel like almost every single game I play, there's a cheese level 2 or level 3 gank on like mid or top or bottom. Do you think that's because of like how hard it is to clear like the other side? Like once you get your red side, you're like, fuck, I don't even want to go to blue side because it's so worthless, so I should just gank like right at level 3.
I think a lot of it has to do with when people do a one side full clear. The options, right, are take a pretty hefty time investment to walk over to the other side, or you can go for like a quick cheeky gank. So you can do like red Raptors, Krugs, and then go bottom, or you can go red Krugs, Raptors, and then go mid. Assuming you're starting on your red side and it's on your bot end. If you're on the other side of the map, your path's going to be different. But even then, like a lot of junglers will still do the same thing where they'll start their red side and then maybe go top or mid. And again, if you're doing that Krug second, it makes sense to gank that side lane. As you're passing over, I mean, you can do a really low effort run through mid and just be like, oh, okay, maybe we get a summoner. Maybe we get some free damage as you're moving over, getting ready to take blue, and then, get priority on that scuttle. You can also put that deep vision in as you pass through mid, so you know if they enter the river. But yeah, I mean, it is, I think, also a case to be made that, well, clearing your wolves and your Gromp aren't going to get you a ton, and you have some time now between after you clear your blue buff, or, you've done your 3 camps, you're level 3, and you have time where you can still kill your blue buff and get your scuttle, but you have to wait a bit. If you go right to your blue and then you go right to scuttle, you'll be sitting there for like 10-15 seconds waiting for it to spawn. So it's just like, oh, okay, well, I can try for a gank, or I can, I guess, take wolves, or I can maybe take Gromp. So I think, yeah, that's definitely part of that. And just the mindset, even for power farmers, isn't farm every camp, it's farm my bot side camps every time they're up.
Yeah.
Which I don't like, honestly. I'm not a fan of that. But that being said, I've been playing a lot of Kha'Zix, who isn't outstanding at clearing those AoE camps, but he gets by just fine without losing very much health. He's a very healthy jungler, and he scales quite well into the game.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like the health of your like clear is one of the most important things in the current meta, right? Like those characters that can stay above 50 to like even above 70%, like are just so much stronger. Like you never have to risk invades. You're always able to counter gank or defend against invades. I feel like that's kind of like a huge strength. Like I'm not sure if you've been paying attention to like what people have been like starting to pick or starting to like think as sleeper OP picks, but a lot of people are picking Orange Jungle right now as like a up and coming thing. Like it's not like super high win rate right now, but people are like theorizing it as like a overpowered character. He never leaves the jungle. He's always above 70% because he can just buy his items. You clear 3 camps, you buy talisman. You clear 3 camps, you buy boots. You clear 3 camps, you finish your jungle item. Like it's actually pretty strong.
Yeah, wait, that's actually crazy. I didn't ever think about that.
He has a really good clear too.
Yeah, I played against a Scion jungler earlier today, and he did like 2 full clears before basing, and was just like a full level and a half ahead of me, and then he went like bot and got some kills. He ended up rolling over the game, but I was just like, yeah, if you can stay healthy and just keep clearing and doing things, it's really good and it's really efficient. Especially if your base damage and stats are good enough that you not recalling isn't going to affect you too much. Where, I mean, Ornn has that advantage where he gets to pick up his items, but like in that example, Scion, like the difference between a Scion or a Scion with like 300 more health isn't huge.
Yeah. I was gonna say is on the contrary though to like these healthy junglers or these junglers that have like agency in early levels, the main thing that I've been playing with Trevor, so he's like a Mordekaiser main, or he used to be a Mordekaiser main, right? And since Mordekaiser has been reworked, he's mainly been playing Jungle Evelyn as his like one trick character. And I recently suggested within the last week to start playing Jungle Malphite. And I think Jungle Malphite is the best solo queue jungler in the game. I truly believe it. Like, honest to God, it doesn't do anything till 6, but just Malphite as a character is so fucking gross in solo queue. You go full AP Predator Malphite. I'm not, like, it sounds stupid, Colton, but, like, he carries every single game. Like, it's so good in solo queue. It's fucking gross.
I could see that, definitely. Just, like, at a certain point, you're just like, you die, like, I have ult, you're dead, and I get to pick one of you, and if you stand next to someone, I get to pick two of you, and there's not a lot to do about it. I could definitely see that. I used to play a lot of Jungle Malphite, more when he was, like, a full tank, but I think I'd really enjoy that, playing the burst, just, like, rush that Ludens and pop people.
Yeah, the only part that you won't, like, enjoy, I think, as much is the fact that, so the way you play early game is, if someone invades something, you give it to them. You just fucking give it to them. You never contest anything. And your whole goal is to have your team not fall, like, far enough behind before you hit 6. Because as soon as you hit 6, like, you just start snowballing the game. Like, I'm looking at his scores right now. No offense to Trevor. He's not that mechanically skilled of a player. Like, in general, he can play easy characters very well, right? But his scores 10-2, 8-2, 10-8, 12-4, 10-1, 15-2, 14-7. Like, those are hard carry scores for, like, a jungler that literally doesn't do anything until 6.
Mm-hmm.
I'd recommend it, especially to, like, a lot of, like, people who are maybe not newer players. I feel like that's not a healthy way to learn how to play jungle. But I feel like honestly, if you're struggling in solo queue as a jungle main, try playing it a couple games. Like, maybe one game to get used to it. You'll probably get abused in your first game. In the second game, you learn what you can give and what you have to take. And then your third game, you'll probably start smashing, honestly. I feel like it's gross.
Yeah, definitely. So part of the question here is, what would make other junglers good again? And I think there's a couple.
Who are the bad junglers?
Who are the bad junglers? I mean, it's tough because I don't think there's any junglers that are, like, unplayable.
Mm-hmm.
It's just your playstyle is limited by some picks. So if I play Kha'Zix, I can play a power farm, I can play an objective control, I can play a high ganking style. If I pick Nidalee, I have to quick clear my buffs and get ganks off. That's my option.
That's fair.
And as a jungler, limited options is dangerous because it makes you more predictable, and the more predictable you are, typically the less effective you are.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If they know what you're going to try and do, then they should be able to counterplay it. Now, the higher elo that you get, that's going to be more effective, where, they can see this coming even as early as champion select, understand what you pick, why you're trying to do it, and then formulate plans against it and maybe take a cleanse, maybe run TP and, like, biscuits or something to sustain better, right? There are more options of counterplay if you know what they're going to try and do. And that's why I think a lot of these junglers that can really do anything they want are so strong right now. Right, you have no idea what a Gragas is going to do, because a Gragas can power farm, a Gragas can be constantly ganking, he can go for those objective fights, like, he can be literally anywhere, take whatever path he wants, he's going to have plenty of health, there's just so many choices for him.
Yeah, just like as an example for, like, a character that's not very that don't have as many options for choices, Fiddlesticks. I feel like because Fiddlesticks is such a bad character at clearing Krugs and Raptors, he's 100% forced into ganking, like, with the majority of his time. You can kill single target buffs really easy, and then Wolf Camp, I guess. That's about it, I think.
I don't think Fiddles is actually that bad at clearing either of those camps.
Really? I feel like he's really bad at Raptors. I feel like Krugs is slightly better.
I don't think he's actually that bad with his E at throwing Hunter's Talisman on him all. Like, it's not great, but it's not really bad. And especially once he gets his Echo, it's basically instant when he throws his E in there. That being said, though, I think the point still stands, where there are definitely some limited choices right now. I think the top win rate you mentioned was Nunu. Again, same thing. He's got so many options, and he's got a healthy clear. They are nerfing him pretty significantly. Or did that go through, or is that next patch?
I believe it's next patch. I believe.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't love the current jungle meta. And it sucks because, like, I think it's one of the best places to carry the game right now is through the jungle. Like that and bot lane, I think, are probably the strongest areas. But better jungler than AD carry, so I guess I'm gonna play Kha'Zix and deal with the current state of things as they are.
Yeah, I just hope they do like we mentioned last week on the show, just literally just swapping Raptors or Krugs and Gromp. Like that alone would do a lot for the jungle. Like it wouldn't. I don't think it would fully fix it, but like why not just try stuff like that, right?
Yeah, I think that would be definitely a significant change that could mix things up. But yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see after Worlds, right? Which is still quite a ways away, but they normally do these big overhauls, and I think that they're waiting for that to fix what I think is an apparent problem with one side being so drastically better than the other. And it's not in a way that's like punishing. It's not like you're taking Krugs for like 30 seconds longer. It's like you're taking them for like 10 seconds longer. It's not like Raptors are killing you or taking you down to like 10% health, right? It's just like, oh, they'll do a little bit more damage than wolves, and then they give like twice as much gold.
Yeah.
So I mean, like that's I think the issue with it. But I mean, I don't know. That's kind of my current thoughts on jungle, I guess.
What do you think about dragons and barons? I guess would be the only other thing we haven't really discussed.
Yeah, so I think that soloing dragon early is pretty easy for a lot of characters right now, which I'm okay with character soloing dragon, but I think it's probably easier than it should be. Like, you shouldn't have to worry about any jungler just sneaking a solo baron or a solo dragon at like 4.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm pretty okay with how they are. I think that the elemental drakes are just fine. I think that Baron as is pretty fine. I would like to see it probably maybe do a little bit more damage, a little bit more difficult to take. And also, you know, if it does more damage, then it counteracts these like high damage comps and requires you to have a tank, as opposed to if you just make Baron tankier, it's, you know, it's different, I guess. But like I don't like that 2 carries can take Baron pretty easily.
Yeah, it feels weird that you can build a comp every single game where you have no tanks. Like, it's cool in part because I think it's more fun watching. Like, I hate full tank metas where you have a tank jungle, tank top, tanky mid, tanky support. But I also think it's not healthy to have Tristana top, hyper carry mid, hyper carry jungle, a hyper carry AD carry, right? Like, I feel like that's maybe even like the other side of like 2 evils. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, I would like to see a world where it's like, not maybe necessary, but like it is consistently a good choice to have at least one proper tank, which I'd say is mostly the case now, but you can definitely get away without any real tanks and just running like 2 Berserkers or something.
do you think that's because every character has CC now? Like, tanks aren't just like your only CC characters, right? You have like carries that have like tanks level of CC now.
Yeah, I think that that's probably part of it. Right, you can get that engage without needing the Malphite or the Amumu. You can, you know, just throw the Ash Arrow, for example. And I mean, those are old characters, but yeah, CC is not the domain only of tanks. Like, most of all mid laners are going to have some form of CC to set themselves up. Bruisers have enough mobility and CC if they're the meta ones that they can get in there. Like, you don't really always need that hard engage, and then like even if you pick it, then they can just run like a disengage. They can just take like the, you know, Ezreal with the Ice Fist and be like, oh, lol, you can't engage on me.
Yeah. What was the last character in the game released without CC other than like Kaisa, who's an AD carry?
I don't know.
Because Kaisa, Kiana, Yumi, Silas, Nico, Pike, Zoe, Ornn, Kane, I guess, if you don't go red, he doesn't have CC.
You still got to slow.
So then it's Rakan, Zaya, Camille, Ivern, Kled, Talia, Aurelian, Jin again. It didn't even have CC. Alawi.
Wow, that's pretty far back. But yeah,
Alawi is 2015.
Yeah, and I'm fine with characters having CC. It's just like some disparity there where it's like they don't need like a lot of it or hard CC, like half-second stun or like a quick silence. Things like that I'm way more okay with. And then like, right, the Scions of the world are the ones like, I'm going to charge up my Q for a minute in front of you and you get to see it happening, but if it lands, you're knocked up. Like, yeah. Right, and I like that exists. And I think that's also like, because control mages aren't great right now. So that's just like, there's a dip of CC in the mid lane, which I think also allows some other things to flourish. Right, if you don't have somebody zoning the way a control mage does, other picks become more viable.
I agree. I think that's like completely fair.
But yeah, anyway, back to the jungle. I mean, I don't think it's like broken. I just think that there are definitely things that could open it up to a lot more options for junglers to take. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd say, I mean, like, if you want to learn how to jungle right now, it's a pretty good time because pathing is kind of straightforward. And you can definitely just learn like a couple basic paths and figure it out. It's also pretty easy and straightforward to just like camp the hell out of one lane. Which again, I don't really love as a jungle style of just like repeat the same lane over and over and over. I prefer to be like active in all the lanes if I can, but that's, again, I don't think highly supported by current state of things.
That's fair.
But yeah, so that's I think the jungle right now, or at least my view on it. If you want to tell me I'm wrong, go ahead. If you want to see me employ this to D rank, watch my stream the next time I do that.
Yeah. No. Cool. I think the jungle's actually, it's weird. It's like, I think the consensus is that it's cool that there's diversity, but like there's still underlying problems that hopefully they address next season, and we'll have to see. Roundtable. So last week's roundtable question was, what is your favorite skin that you own for a character that you can't play well? We got lots of responses on Facebook and on Discord. From our Facebook, Isaac said, Old Saint Zillion. Not only am I bad at him, but I hate him more than any other champion. Jason said, you know that teammate that has that really expensive skin and solo carries the game? That's definitely not me when playing Dawnbringer Riven. I feel like no one carries on Riven unless they're Riven main.
Yeah. No, you don't carry on Riven unless you play only Riven.
Yeah. Scott said Pulsefire as the skin came out a few days after I first started playing. I loved the skin and the champ just seemed easy to learn. Several years later, I still can't quite get the skill shots. Jeremy says, Cut Purse Twisted Fate will always be my personal favorite skin. Unfortunately, there's just something about his playstyle that I just can't get the hang of. I suck really badly when I play him. And last from our Facebook, from David, he says, Program Lysandra, got the skin and inted so hard that I haven't played her since. Runner-up is Program LeBlanc. It's those damn program skins, my dude. And I picked a couple from our Discord. One from Confucius, and he says, Mecha Asol, literally forgot this champ existed till I got the skin from a chest. Played him 2 games, went to 0-12, then 2-13. I gave up forever, but the skin is dope. That's an improvement. If you play like 10 more games, you'd probably go positive, just based on that progression.
Well, no, because he added 1 death per game and 2 kills, so he'd need to play many, many games.
He'll get there, though, if he keeps playing.
Yeah, eventually you'll be like 44 and 30.
Yeah, that's a good score, though. Zorlok said, for this week's skins question, I bought Battle Boss Brand when I was drunk as fuck, and it was a mistake. I love playing support mid, mages in general, but never got down Brand. I like the Battle Boss / arcade skin line, but man, I just cannot play Brand. I don't think I've ever drunk bought a skin. I feel like I'm responsible when it comes in that regard.
I don't think I've ever purchased a skin while intoxicated. I think, if anything, it's been like, I'm gonna buy RP.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I try not to do that, yeah.
From our very own best mate, Australia, he's in the channel right now while we're recording. He says, own every skin of Jax to the same as Aiden and bought packs Jax and Master Yi that was released from season 1 to 4. They stomped in bots, so had to have them flaunt my expertise with them. Now only see them when I go 0-20 in ARAM. Hey, skins are great for ARAMs though, because if you feed an ARAM, who cares? It's an ARAM. So you can like buy any skin you want, and just hope that you get it RNG'd 1 in 145.
Yeah, just show that shit off in your ARAM game, and if you do well, you're a main, and if not, you say, of course I'm bad at this character, it's ARAM. What do you mean?
Yeah, no one's gonna flame you in ARAM.
That's not true.
That's not true. And our last but not least from our Discord is from Pards Bay, and he says, I grinded for Prestige Battle Academia Lux. I don't enjoy that champ and have only played her once since getting the skin. It's even worse when you grind for it instead of spending money, right? You just wasted time.
Yeah, you're like, I've worked hard for the... Oh, it sucks. I hate it.
Yeah. So this week's roundtable question is, what do you think is currently the most sleeper OP champion in League of Legends? Sleeper OP being strong but like underplayed. Colton. If you don't have one yet, like mine is like actually the Melphite that I was talking about. I feel like I've seen no other player play that yet, other than like I saw it on Twitter or something where someone was like, "Oh, this is really strong. You should try playing it."
I definitely ran into it in a solo queue game, and it was like he was doing poorly, and then like just got 2 items, and was like, "Oh, he just pops someone every time his ult is up." We won the game, but it was just funny. Okay, so sleeper OP right now. That's really tough because like I'm recency bias of just like all of my solo queue games. The only like I'm thinking of all the strong characters that are being played,
that aren't like popularized, which is the main thing. It's because it's easy to say, yeah, Kai'Sa's OP. Because everyone knows fucking Kai'Sa's the best AD carry in the game, but I don't think there's an AD carry that's like sleeping on her, right?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of want to say, like, Syndra is real strong right now, but I don't think she's really that uncommon.
I think she's more uncommon than most mids. I still feel like people play flashy mids compared to her.
Yeah, Syndra's real strong right now, I feel. So that's what I'll use as my answer.
Her ult does, like, gross damage again. I don't know how they buffed her when they buffed it, but it does a lot of damage again. Yeah, so if you want to tell us...
They didn't change too much for the ult. They buffed her W and her ult a little bit, but...
I guess that just means she gets fed easier than her ult does more damage. I
think it's just you got used to not playing against it for a while, and the press R to kill still works.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't get to that point where at Worlds, like, she's meta and she just clicks R on people again. That was, like, the worst meta for, like, a long time. So if you want to tell us what character you think is the most sleeper OP right now, you can hit us up on our Facebook page at LeagueCast, come into our Discord and post in our roundtable section, or send us an email, mail@leaguecastpodcast.com. Colton, did you watch any... Oh, sorry, cheese pick first. Never mind.
Yeah, dude, we gotta do the cheese pick. So this one, I believe Tarzan played a little bit of. And I was just chatting with some people in solo queue about it. But it's Jungle Lucian. And I didn't actually look it up, but I would imagine it's press the attack into warrior. And as you know, Aiden, I am a lover of taking AD carries into the jungle where they do not belong.
Yep,
and trying to make it work. That being said, I think Lucian is actually pretty well suited to it. If you have your buffs, you can spam your abilities, get those double taps, which is really nice. As well as like easily applying the machete passive, as well as like your AoE for when you get your talisman. You can throw your W at the camp, you can Q through all the raptors, stuff like that. Obviously he doesn't have CC, but he does have a lot of damage for his ganks, as well as dueling with other characters. And then like if you just want to run somebody down with the culling, you can. I'd say obviously like if you want to run this, you're gonna need some kind of engage or CC elsewhere on the team. But I definitely think it can work, and if you are good at microing through the camps to not take a lot of damage, which you need to be on most AD carry or ranged junglers in general, definitely I think it can be successful. So I'm probably going to give this a try on one of my Smurfs.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Cool.
Jungle Lucian, is it top tier? Sleeper OP?
So I think like every jungle is playable, and I feel like you actually can play AD carries in the jungle. I think Twitch is probably the best AD carry in the jungle still, in my opinion. And then, I feel like Kai'Sa jungle wouldn't be that awful either.
Yeah, I remember when she was like first pitch, and people were like, oh wait, is she a jungler?
Yeah. And then I guess maybe Jhin then Lucian would be my tier list for jungle AD carries.
I think Ezreal's not bad in the jungle still.
Oh, true. Ezreal. I
Not
forgot about
great,
Ezreal.
but not terrible. If you count Kindred, I think she's the best, but...
Yeah, that's fair.
And, like, but she's a proper jungler, same thing with, like, Graves, where, like, I don't
If
think you can really...
Graves, yeah.
I don't think you can really count those for this discussion.
Yeah.
I'd say probably Draven I'd put up there as well. Because the thing that's really nice about jungle Draven is that, like, you just get to free stack. And so, like, if you get off one gank, it's just like, ooh, give me that fat cash in.
Yeah.
And he clears the jungle just fine.
Those are probably, like, the only good ones, right? Like, playable ones, I would say.
Yeah, so, like, just thinking of other ones. Caitlyn, Sever, Ashe, not great in the jungle.
No.
Tristana you can do, but it's not great. Kog'Maw you can do, but it's not great.
Jinx, Kalista are bad. Varus is bad.
Yeah.
Jinx actually... thoughts?
Vayne, pretty okay.
I think she's passable.
Yeah. I think even, like, Jinx wouldn't be terrible in the jungle. But not great by any means. So yeah, that's jungle AD carries for you. But this week's cheese pick again was Jungle Lucian. Maybe I'll stream some of those games, depending on how well
play it
that
under
thing
ranked
goes.
game.
I mean, if I was playing on like Baskinator, maybe we got Quinn to D3.
Hell yeah.
Played several games with him. The games I played Kha'Zix, I popped off and got him through series.
Hell
But
yeah.
he also played well, so I don't actually want to flame him. He was playing really well. But that brings us to the LCS, and the LEC, and the LCK, and the LMS.
Did you watch any pro league this week? If so, we can talk about those games first.
I really actually haven't watched any pro scene. I've been meaning to catch up on it. So tell me what happened. What were the big developments in the playoffs that are happening right now?
So since our last recording, SKT 3-1 Damwon, and then they 3-1 Damwon, I believe, and then they 3-1 Griffin, and now they're at Worlds. And like, man, SKT was kind of sleeping all split, and then they just fucking like 3-0'd every team to grand
Playoffs
finals.
plus SKT, dude.
Yeah,
They gotta get to Worlds.
And I think Griffin's real good, but like those games weren't close at all. Like they were like, you know how I'm not, you didn't watch any, but like the series between Team Liquid and Cloud9, you know how like the last game of that game was an absolute snowball. All those games were like that hard of a snowball for like SKT.
Oh, no.
Like they were like perfect games, like almost.
I love it. I keep up that form, SKT. Get another world fucking championship. Bring it back to Korea.
Yeah, I'm excited for that though. SKT is always fun to watch. And then in LEC, we had our LEC has that weird thing where like the first and second place team play like in quarters, and then like the winner immediately moves to finals. And the other team like plays the winner of the other quarterfinal match, and it kind of creates like a semis thing. So like everyone expected G2 3-0. They had to reverse sweep. Let's put it that way. Fnatic like owned them game one. Fnatic beat them pretty hard game two. Game three, Fnatic was winning, and then G2 like turned it around, and then it just went worse. It was like the spectrum, like hard smash game one from Fnatic to like hard smash game five from G2. Like perfect like translation between the two. Perfect gradient. And
That sounds
man, it
like
was
a
hard
really
to see.
fun series to watch, though. Like, yeah, it's heartbreaking if you're a Fnatic fan, but oh boy. Like, those are the ones that you're like, this is a story. This is scripted. But it's
Yeah, and
also something you would expect, like, if it was scripted, it'd be the other way around, right? Where G2 smashes and, like, Fnatic comes back.
Yeah. It's just like, and like, so some people were saying like, oh, G2 is like not trying as hard. They fucking picked metacomps every single game that series.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, man. Also, in our Discord, Best Mate AU posted Mammoth 3-0'd Order in semis, then 3-0'd Chiefs to enter play-ins for Worlds. Hashtag OPL, hashtag the best region, hashtag Stray. I can't wait for Mammoth to get knocked out of play-ins by any other team.
Can't wait for Mammoth to get out of groups.
So like, there's one spot like that is actually possible for like a team like OPL to get out of, right? Because it's always gonna, the NA team's always gonna get out, the EU team's always gonna get out, and then I believe it's Korea that has to play in play-ins with their third team this. And is it Korea or is it China? I think it's Korea. So those three teams are always gonna get out, right, out of the 4 spots. But the fourth one is always a throw up. It's usually like the Vietnamese or like the Taiwan team, like what's AHQ? LMS, that's what the region is thinking of. But I feel like they're weaker this year than most, so maybe we'll see like something like Brazil or OPL or something. That'd be cool.
Yeah. I think
Hell yeah.
like it's tough. I would almost like I want to say like I would love to see like a bigger like starting bracket as opposed to the play-ins, but like people just don't watch the play-ins anyway, so I feel like the same thing would happen if they started like wider.
Yeah.
So I guess it's fine how it is. It's just maybe I just need to pay more attention to some of those international scenes, like watch their playoffs and be like try and get familiar with some of these teams as they come into those play-in stages of Worlds.
It'd make you want to watch the games at least, right? Like you
Yeah.
actually kind of care, which I think is the main thing that's holding people back from enjoying them.
Yeah, and like I try and like watch all of groups when it comes out to get like an idea of these teams, but it's normally not enough.
Yeah. So the games that are coming up next week for LCK, we might cover, we might not. It's just Sandbox versus Kingzone for the last spot, I believe. I don't really care too much about Sandbox's lineup. The only thing I really care about is Kingzone has Deft and Nahyun on their team, and I like them. And I like Cuz as well. And Tucson's pretty cool. Their whole team's pretty cool. I definitely feel like neither team is really favored for that matchup, but we'll see. LCK hasn't been that interesting all split, and I feel like a lot of the commentators and analysts for LCK are really like starting to get on their like asses about it. Like I know LS and Papa Smithy were both like complaining that LCK isn't innovating at all. They like only pick new picks if another region does it.
Yeah, I feel like I think that's accurate.
Yeah, like so LS like was the coach for BBQ for like a long time before he like quit, right? And he was saying that when Karthus jungle was like meta for like a couple months. Before that, their jungler, why can't I think of his name? The European player who played in LCK. I can't think of his name. Malice.
Yeah.
Months before that was meta, he went to the coaches and was like, "Hey, this shit is like actually OP. Like, we need to start picking Karthus jungle, right? Like before anyone else was picking it." And they're like, "No one else plays it," so they just wouldn't listen to him, sort of thing. And then as soon as the first time I got picked in LCK by another team, they came to him and they're like, "Hey, we want you to play jungle Karthus." And apparently, like that's just like the culture of like a lot of LCK teams is they only pick what's deemed as good. And even in solo queue, like meta slaves to like a meta that's slowly developing rather than like trying to innovate.
Yeah, and I can see that because I feel like in general the LCK has always been like built on the back of we are going to execute the meta strategy better than anyone else can. We're not going to play your game. We're going to play the game, the perfect game as we see it, and we're going to do it better, and that's how we're going to win. We're not going to do something cheesy. We're not going to try something new. We're just going to outplay you fundamentally. And I think that also some of this lag in that meta pick can probably be assigned to the veteran support staff, where I think as the scene develops more, and as in terms of Korea, I think it is obviously typically the example where people say it's the most developed. You have these coaches who are just coaches. You know, obviously they are going to be highly familiar with the league, but it's not that, you know, this coach can, you know, it's not, I'm trying to think of like, who was the owner of like Origin? Was it Ocelot? Expeke? Where like he can't just like take that pick into challenge or solo queue, try it out, and be like, oh yeah, you're right, Jungle Karthus is good. You know,
That's
some
fair.
of these people are just like, you know, actual coaches, managers who, you know, and I don't know how much experience they have. A lot of them obviously do have a lot of it, but I could see that being a more restraining factor of like, you know, these people are not as in tune and can't test these things in the same way. And obviously, it's really hard to have that pro player level understanding of the game if you're not a pro player.
Their job is to like pick the best thing and win their team the game through draft, right?
And then just telling you, well, Jungle Karthus is good. And then you say why, and they try and explain it, and you say, I don't understand. No one else is picking it. Pick what's good right now. You know.
Yeah.
And I mean, hey, that probably stops them from picking a lot of things that aren't great. So I don't think there's necessarily a problem there, but I think that might be part of a symptom of that, you know, is that there's no way for them to really, like, test that out and see. And, I mean, I don't know. That's just me, like, spitballing a theory.
Yeah, no, we'll have to see, though. I'm excited for Worlds, for sure. And the other game that's coming up is Fnatic versus SO4. I'm assuming Fnatic, based on their performance against G2, is going to, like, pretty easily beat Schalke, and then which means they'd go on to play G2 again, which is going to be a fun rematch. I think that would be a lot of fun to watch. I'm definitely going to watch it live this time.
Yeah, I'll definitely try and do that. We should do like a little viewing thing together in TeamSpeak or something.
Hell yeah, that'd be fun. Cool. And then we're at our mail fight section, which we have 20 emails.
Did you mention the second bullet there?
Wait, what? Oh, I forgot. Papa Smithy is stepped down from being a caster this week for the LCK, an English caster, and he's now the GM for 100 Thieves, which I think is really interesting. They must be paying him a lot of money.
Oh, yeah, they gave him a fat check.
Also, if like he wants to move his life
believe.
to America, it's probably a really good opportunity, right? If he like wants to transition from Korea to America, so I'd assume that's like a huge factor.
I would think that that's probably a large chunk of that decision is that, oh, I get a chance to move to the United States, as well as like probably a raise, and I would imagine more downtime and availability in terms of schedule. Like I think that's like win-win-win for him. And hey, I'm you know sad to see him go, but happy to see him progress. I'm sure that he'll still be putting out content, and after 100 Thieves gets eliminated from certain events, they might still try and bring him out as like a special guest kind of thing.
Oh, for sure, yeah. I think he definitely will help with like content creation. I feel like he won't shy away from doing stuff on like with NALCS and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is super cool. I'm just sad that we're losing some Korean talent because he's definitely one of the best casters in the world right now. So
Yeah.
cool. Mail fight. I'll read the first one. We're only 45 minutes in, so we might as well at least start it. We'll see how long it takes to get through 20 emails. This one's from. Okay, I'll just read it. Hi all. I'm Jimothy Weird. I answered one roundtable a few weeks ago, and I think I had a mini heart attack when it was actually read, so let's not try that again. Anyways, I play support, but I only play normals, and 90% of my AD carries are trolls or feeders. Can you recommend a position and a champion to learn? I play Pike, Thresh, and Alistar, and Xerath. Thank you so much for reading this. Any answers would be greatly appreciated. Happy gaming.
So, I mean, those are 3 engaged characters and a poke.
Yeah.
So you could pick up like another poke character. I imagine if you're playing the Xerath support, you could definitely transition that to mid and like maybe pick up one more poke mid laner like a Ziggs or a Lux. If you really like the engaged playstyle, which it seems like you do, I mean, you could take top lane. You don't really have to rely on any other players. You can, have your little island. So if your AD carry and your, email you mentioned, they're always feeders. Well, don't deal with any other players. Play top lane. play like Scion, and you don't need to deal with other players. It's just you up there in your little island, and you get real beefy and engage.
Yeah, exactly. Like a Scion or a Malphite top lane would be like a good starting point to like transition engage support to engage top laners, I think.
Yeah.
Cool. Hopefully that helps.
I see why you read the first one, because this one's long.
It's from Keg.
Hey guys. Hey Leaguecast. Keg here. I really liked your thoughts on Shaco last episode. I liked them so much that I decided to give some feedback as your resident Shaco player. Also, when Colton read out, most people that queue for jungle are absolute garbage at the role, Nick's reaction of "true" in the background was the funniest shit ever. Let me straight up get this out of the way. Shaco doesn't need a rework. His kit is the one of the more unique ones in League, and has held up over the years quite well. I don't blame you guys for not knowing this, since I'm assuming you don't play Shaco, but he has insane outplay potential with his ult clone, boxes, and Q. So reworking any of these abilities would, in my opinion, destroy the champion. The micro with his clone, blocking skill shots, distracting enemy players, mind games, is insane, and Shaco has one of the highest skill ceilings in the entire game. I'd even go as far as to say that Shaco is the most difficult champion to master in League, because he requires being able to read situations perfectly. Also, maxing E is not as bad as you think. 1.5 seconds of stealth on Shaco's Q is definitely something you can work with, and you're going to use it for the blink most of the early game anyway. I agree with Nick that Shaco's E is a fundamentally bad ability. It slows movement and attack speed passively while off cooldown, and has execute damage on a medium-long cooldown. This is the ability I would buff and give more synergy with the rest of his kit, as Shaco's other abilities are, in my opinion, fine. Here's some ideas I had, let me know what you think. So some workshop ideas for his E. E gives permanent lifesteal on critical strikes. Synergizes with his passive, gives better jungle sustain, allows for 1v1 potential in early Drake plays. A different one, Shaco's E now has 2 charges with a small cooldown in between uses. He's got 2 daggers, right? Different one, getting a kill with E resets Q's cooldown. Q in, yeet your knife, and then Q out. This probably sounds OP on paper, but remember that Shaco's E quite slowly, so there's at least a second delay between multiple Qs most of the time. Next one, oh, this is just a different buff. Shaco's clone mirrors his W and E. Just think it would be cool to give his ult more uses, not implying it's not already a very useful ability. And then lastly, potential E procs on hit effects. Klepto Shaco top anyone? In all seriousness, this could open up some really cool item synergies. What do y'all think? Also, let me shill my roundtable question here real quick. A friend gifted me Knockout Lee Sin once, and I wish I was as good at Lee Sin. I could use the skin more. Keep being the better of the... Is that even... Oh, it was his roundtable answer. So
yeah.
It was Knockout Lee Sin. So I thought he was like posting a question. I'm like, there's no question here. Keep being the better of the 2 major league podcasts and keep your ears stiff.
Hell yeah.
XO keg. Okay, so I like the idea that the E gave lifesteal on crit, and I think it'd be really interesting if it was like also that the slow gets stronger on crit or something like that, like make him build the crit build sorta. 2 charges I could also see. I think that could be one way. Q reset on E. I don't think he needs more mobility than he has. And then the mirroring the W and the E with the clone, I think the biggest issue is that's like the best way to spot the real Shaco is which one did the dagger come from, or the W. Aside from that, it'd be almost impossible if someone is doing it very, very well. That being said, like to the beginning of your email, I used to play a ton of Shaco. I still play him now and then. He's actually one of my highest mastery characters. He's a lot of fun. I think, yeah, his E is just kind of dog shit right now. So definitely something needs to be done. I think all of your ideas were potentially really fun. So Aiden, what are your thoughts?
I think E-procking like on hits is like one of my favorite like small changes that they can do. Like I feel like it will never break the character, but like it allows people to like do a couple more interesting things. I think the stuff like mirroring W and E is like a little bit too crazy, I guess would be like the way to put it. And the rest of them I think are just like overall good ideas, but they still require big implementation, right? Like you can't do them all at the same time because you might just bust the character. You kind of have to do one, then wait a couple weeks and see how it looks, and then do another one. But I think like just proc on hits is like such an easy little change that why not add it to the character? And I feel like that's good thinking.
Yeah.
Cool.
So again, thank you for the email, Keg, and we're gonna move on to the next one.
From Butt Stuff, it says TI recently happened, and the craziest stat I heard from it was that every single character was banned at some point. Now I don't follow Dota much, but from what I can tell, it was because of counterpicking being much more real in Dota. This leads to my question: what do you think about counterpicking League, and do you think the game would be better with more or less? What could be some changes you think could help high level counterpicking? So
real quick, I just want to clarify, TI is the International, which is the world's, the big tournament of Dota, for those who aren't familiar.
Mm-hmm. And like pretty consistently every year, they're always at like 95% plus pick ban rate for their characters, despite having like the same amount of characters, right, as League.
So like everything gets picked or played or banned. It's crazy.
Yeah, and League usually reaches like 60 to 70%, I would say, on average during a Worlds. So he is right in the fact that a lot of it is that every character like has hard counters or like stuff they do really well into. So therefore, counterpicking is much more real, and like the effects of it can be felt way more. I think it is prevalent in League, but way to a less degree. There still is going to be a pool of X number of characters that are good. And then you have small counter picks that you go, oh, this is good into their team archetype rather than into these specific characters.
Yeah, I don't think that there's a ton of like real hard counters in League. I think there's a couple like minor examples. You know, you'd mentioned like Poppy into Fiora, where it's just like being able to block that dash just really dicks over that character. But in general, I don't think there's a ton of like crazy counter picks. And I'm okay with it. Like, I don't want there to be a matchup where you just lose the matchup hands down. Like I don't want a 90-10 matchup to exist, but I would love if there were more 75-25s. Because I feel like majority of characters in the game fall into, like, 60-40 range. We're like, hey, you might be better a little bit, but it's definitely still a skill matchup. So I'd like to see some stronger counters, where it's like, hey, you have to really outplay your opponent if you want to try and pull off this pick. And I'd like to see that at the high level where, you know, these are the mid laners that are being contested in pro play, where it's like, well, we want to run this character, so we have to ban that. Or, you know, well, we see they picked this, so, you know, now we can pick, you know, just having those kind of options available, I think that makes for interesting drafts.
I think the closest thing we have to that, which it's going to sound funny, but I think the closest thing we have to that is how pick ban works with Xayah or Khan. If one team picks Xayah or Khan, and that means the other team has to pick the opposite or ban the opposite in the second draft phase for competitive phase. And like, that's a cool thing. Like, you're kind of forcing their hand to do something, right? And I don't know. I just feel like that's like the closest thing we have. It's cool having that one specific thing. But I feel like it'd be cancer if like every single character had one of those. But once again, I don't come from that like environment where like that's normal, right?
Yeah, I think the only other kind of like next example would be kind of like the Sona Tark kind of thing.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, they picked Tarek, like we can ban Sona or something. But even then, like they could just run a regular AD carry with it, and it's fine.
It's cool being able to force people's hands though. Like having skill in champion select, I guess, is a cool skill expression part of the game.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, next email is from Ardell. Hey guys, do you ever get into a fight, level up in the middle, and just wish you could have leveled your ulti fast enough to matter? I run into this from time to time top lane, and I use the control level shortcut, but it's not the most convenient hand position in the middle of a fight. Since most champions have a best level path, I don't think it would be a bad idea at all to add in the game. I think it can be done with a very similar to how the shop is set up, where you can make the item list for a champion. What do you think? So I think he's saying have it automatically level your ability when you level, and being able to like program your level paths. It's like always level my Q, like QWE, QQR kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't think it's a bad thing for the game to put it that way. Like, is that a fair way to put it? I don't think it would benefit any good player, but if someone wanted it, I don't see why it's a bad thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'd say if anything, put it on like a half a second delay. Just because, like, I don't think it should go faster than you could if you actually did it.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, the fact that it's limiting you, so, like, if some game you wanted to change your build... I mean, I guess it'd have to be a setting in-game where you could turn it off, but... I don't know, yeah, I don't think it would be bad. I just definitely think you'd want to put it on some kind of short delay, so that it's not just default better, right? Because, like, if it does it the second you ping that experience for 6... that takes away the skill of realizing, like, you're about to level, getting ready to quick level that ability and use it. And I think that is something that is a skill people should learn.
I also think, like, having a setting where, like, you can make it so it levels up just by hitting your ultimate, like, without hitting control level up or something like that. I feel like there's no reason, if you don't have a point in something, just clicking that button would level it up. I feel like that's, like, a cool quality of life thing.
Yeah, you just, like, hit R twice, and it levels it, and then it casts it.
Yeah, like that would be fine. Also, I would recommend, if you want, switching your leveling to your alt key rather than your control key. I use leveling with my alt key, and then I use control for range
Self-cast?
indicators,
Oh,
and then I use shift for self cast. Because I feel like I use control like the least out of all them all, and I feel like it's the hardest one to hit. And then I use shift the second least, and I feel like that's the second least. I feel like alt's the easiest key to hit is what I'm trying to get at. And I feel like you level up abilities the most often rather than self-casting or range indicators and stuff. Cool. Next one's from Beto My Mito. He says, hey, love the podcast. Me and my coworkers all listen to it at work each and every week. If you guys could check out my op.gg and give me some tips, I would be very appreciative. Keep up the good work. Cool. Thank you, Beto My Mito. Let's check this out.
Rapid development. He actually owns his own company and is the only employee.
True. Me and you listen to it at work.
All of his coworkers. Okay, so he looks like we got Udyr, Zillion, Nunu, Amumu, and Kindred are the top 5 most played. So jungler plus
Gold
Zillion.
2-player. Went from bronze to silver to bronze to bronze to silver to gold this season. So huge improvement this season. Been like kind of hovering silver and bronze for the last 5 years, and now you're gold.
Yeah, so we can see his Udyr 58% win rate over 160 games. So the pretty default advice would be keep playing Udyr. That being said, I mean, his top 5, all of them are over 50%, except for Nunu, which is 49. So I don't have any problem with that. 50% win rate's like okay.
And good KDA and stuff too, and CS and everything.
So yeah, it's hard to tell without actually like watching, but I mean, I'd say stick probably to jungle then and keep playing those ones that you have those high win rates on, you know, particularly that Udyr, your Amumu 67%, Kindred 63. Those are really good win rates, so keep on those,
he hasn't played Udyr in his last 25 games. So I would recommend playing that. You've spamming, it looks like Zillion support, and then a little bit of a couple other junglers like Amumu, Kindred, and stuff. Yeah, just play some Udyr. Maybe you're bored of him is like the problem, but like when you have the high win rate, if your goal is to climb, you should be playing your best thing, right? That being said, he's probably queuing jungle support based on his like top 7 characters or whatever. When you do play support, maybe a mage support isn't the best thing to complement your Udyr play. Like, it's nice having like a mage or like enchanters and stuff in your kit, but try picking up, like, you have Nautilus as your 7th most played, it looks like. Stick to like the Nautiluses, the Alistars, maybe even like pick up like a Rakan or something like that. It just, like, if you have the mindset of like, I'm gonna hard engage every game with Udyr, then having that mindset for support is sometimes good, I think.
I agree, yeah. Moving between Zillion and a lot of different other characters is... That frame of reference is so different and how you play that character. Like, as someone who plays a lot of Zillion, even if I haven't played it for a while, it takes me a few games to get back into it and be like, oh yeah, Zillion, like, it's just different how you position and play, and like, it's weird. So maybe Zillion might not be the best pick as like an alternate off pick when you don't get your jungle.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. Yeah, if you play some more ODR, though, send us your op.gg again. I'd like to see your build and stuff. Cool.
Up next is from Speedy Spikes. Hey guys, been a while since I wrote in, but had some thoughts after the last email. Number one, good on you guys for not wanting to bash other podcasts, even though you're superior. I'm sure it takes a lot to not want to perpetuate that kind of trash talking, or as far as stopping inside jokes on the show, although I'm sure you'll reference a certain 80 carry crit item at least once this season. Never. Roundtable answer, Dreadnova Darius. I feel bad that the only gemstone skin I own is on a champ I don't know how to play. Rip. Item idea. Thoughts on an item, maybe a low econ support item, that would buff a turret's damage and attack speed. Of course, it would have other stats, such as health, CDR, or whatever. That could be balanced. But overall, the idea is to dissuade tower dives and sieges. If split pushers can get an item exclusively for that purpose, ZZ Rot, why can't an item be created for the purpose of stopping certain playstyles and actions? The anti-Ohm Wrecker kind of thing. Thoughts? Next point. Do you think Riot listens to this content, reads Reddit boards, or champ ideas? I know there is a team with Riot Reeve for champ creation, but given all the ideas I've heard on this show alone, there could be some cool stuff created by the community, Riot, and in
Trinity. No,
yeah.
In essence.
And in essence, Reeve are the ones who should be crowdsourcing ideas instead of just planning within their offenses and boardrooms. Keep on keeping up, Speedy Spikes. P.S. was looking at Patreon and was wondering, is there a way to do a one-time gift? So let's go down his things just point by point.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll really start with the item idea, because again, thank you for the roundtable answer and the comment about us not bashing other podcasts, but there's not a lot of discussion there.
Yeah.
So that item, I would be totally down with something like that, and in general, more items like that, where you can build these things to counter play styles. I would also think it'd be really interesting if maybe instead of like buffing the tower, putting like an area of effect that was like grounded around the tower. Like that'd be nutty.
Grounded towers would be really cool.
Right? Like they just like batten down the hatches and like people like can't dash at you under tower anymore, and you're like, oh shit, that like stops the dive dead in its tracks.
Yeah, I feel like those types of items will always be weak in general. But that being said, I feel like there's still a place for them. Like, I feel like having these unique items is like a cool thing to like go, oh shit, they have a crazy dive comp. We should really rush this like low econ item to like prevent some of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then, do you think Riot listens to this content or like forums in general? I think they definitely do in like a general sense. I don't think that. I think it's unlikely that nobody employed at Riot Games has listened to or does listen to our podcast. That being said, I don't think anyone does that or has the job of like search through community content for ideas. I think that's just like a general kind of unspoken thing that any designer probably has as part of their repertoire of like, hey, you can go to other people, you can pull ideas from mechanics or characters or styles, like any content that's out there, like feel free to use it. I doubt there's like someone who's like, hey, browse the forums and look for champion ideas.
Yeah, like we've had one email like since I've started doing the show from like a Riot employee saying like they were like driving to some like event or something like that, and there was like a couple other Riot employees with them, and they were like listening to like a couple podcasts and stuff. But that was just more like, hey, we're just listening to like cool community stuff. I agree with Colt. I don't think there's someone who goes like search the webs, right, to crowdsource stuff. That being said, I feel like they definitely would benefit slightly from stuff like that. I think. But I do think they are like open ears to stuff. I just feel like that's not a job that they have.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks for the email, Sweetie Spikes.
And one more thing about the Patreon. Yeah. So what you can do if you do want to support for 1 month is you can just like subscribe at like whatever tier you want, and then you can cancel literally 3 seconds after, and you'll have the tier for the month, and we'll get paid, and we really appreciate it, and we'll put you on our website for the month, and we really appreciate it. That's the easiest way. Is just subscribe, then you can cancel like right after if you'd like, and then it won't renew. Cool. This one is from Hfire. He says, first time mailer, long time listener. First off, amazing podcast, guys. I only listened to this and the dive. Woo, we're up there in like the top echelons of podcasts. Second, what part of Texas did Colton move to?
Dallas.
Hell
on
yeah.
the northeast end of Dallas. Kind of over by like Richardson, UT Dallas, if you're familiar at all.
Hell yeah. And I like hey, listen, first off, second, and then number C. Before League of Legends, what game were you most passionate about? Thanks for the great content. Keep it up, Hfire.
That's a tough question because like there's the games I played the most, and then there are also the games that I was like passionate about.
Yeah.
Which didn't always line up, but like I've said it many times before, but like Colton's progression of video games was like from grade school up into like middle school, it was RuneScape. Played tons of RuneScape. After I stopped playing RuneScape, the next pickup was StarCraft Brood War, and there was a MOBA like game mode for that I played a lot of for probably 2 or 3 years. And then I moved to League of Legends, like that, and kind of that line. So pre-League of Legends, I mean, probably StarCraft was the game I was most passionate about. Aside from that, I mean, it might have been like Age of Empires or something. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, gaming was just different then. Like, that was like before League of Legends. I didn't really have Steam or like use Steam games at all. I just like whatever I could get on like CD or console. I guess
That's
Tekken
fair.
actually. Tekken or Time Splitters is probably up there, which are both console games.
As for me, I feel like there's a lot of single player games I'd mention, but I feel like multiplayer is kind of like relevant here. I would say either Call of Duty, because that's like high school era, that's what I mean the boys would play sort of thing, or I think Halo 3 I played absolutely nonstop before I started getting into League and stuff. I feel like those were the first two real big ones. A lot of my like game progression comes from like what my cousin was interested in though. He got me into Halo, and then he got me into League of Legends. I still remember like one year at my grandparents, him trying to explain like what League of Legends was to me. And being, I remember he described Ashe and Cho'Gath to me. Those are the only two characters I remember describing to me, but I'm like, oh shit, this game's sick.
I can just imagine like what this would have been like 13-year-old Trevor.
Yeah.
Like, be like, you gotta check out this game. There's this cool Frost Archer girl. And just...
Yeah. Oh, it's cool though. So
hyped, yeah.
Just like basic games. Halo is a lot of fun. I'm super excited for Master Chief Collection when it comes out. So I'll have to play some of that. Cool. Thank you. Thank you, Hfire.
Next email is from Super Peach. Jordan, IGN, Super Peach. Hey guys, second time emailing. First time I suggested an idea that ended up becoming Meta, Kaiser. That's a great name, by the way. Couldn't come up with anything better. Anyway, my question for you guys is who your, like, riding a bike champion? Who is your, like, riding a bike champion? This would be a champion you stop playing but can come back to and play at a high level at any point. For me, it's Elise. I've had an account since beta and have played sporadically, but most of the time was in Season 3. At the time, I was a jungle main because none of my friends played jungle. Also, I started watching LCS and became a big Cloud9 and Meteos fan. Elise got gutted, and I got to surprise a few people in Nemesis draft. Nowadays, though, she's back to being pretty good, so I'm having fun hitting combos. Cheers, Jordan. I think I saw you copying it, so do you want to save that for a roundtable?
I think that's a fantastic roundtable question. That's actually like like normally. So I love our audience, and I love the questions they come up with. This is probably the best question we've ever got. I feel like this could be like a top of Reddit question for League of Legends.
This is a really good question, because I think there's a lot of discussion to be had there too, which I think is a good proponent to a roundtable question, because there are things that are interesting, but they just have like a quick answer, where you're just like, my answer is Scion, period. It's over.
Yeah.
This I think
no, I think that's fantastic. We'll do it next week, I think. That's
we're
awesome.
going to save
Thank
that,
you very
Jordan.
much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I was just putting a heart in chat because Super Cheap Peach is in our chat while we're recording, so it's a lot of fun. Let me find where we are. Here we are, from Mr. Outstanding. He says, "Hey there, everyone. My name is Mr. Outstanding, and I am a Nocturne One Trick." Oh, God, we've angered the Nocturne One Tricks, Colton. I am also the only player who has been playing... I'm also the only player who has been playing since Season 3, end of Season 2, technically, but who's counting and still in bronze. Oh, that's sad. Oh, well, but at least I'm not the lowest rank anymore. Word to Iron. I've played off and on over the years, but I've always consistently watched Pro League, LCS, MSI, World, etc. every year. To me, it's just enjoyable to watch. It's just as enjoyable to watch Great League than it is to play. However, recently, I really wanted to start grinding ranked and get a decent rank for the first time. At the very least, I want a Victorious skin. Problem is, I always get bad teams. Lamau, just playing. I really have Wood 6 mechanics, and that's why I play Nocturne. But what I lack in mechanics, I make for my in-game knowledge. I have 100 farm at 20 almost every game, and sometimes out-farm my solo teammates. I have a good grasp for on kiting jungle, vision in my jungle, good jungle habits, but I struggle with counter jungling and applying lane pressure. I always have a CS advantage over the enemy jungler, but I never feel like I'm as big of an impact during the laning phase as other junglers. I can get myself ahead, but I can't use that advantage to help my team effectively. And because of this, no matter what I do in the jungle, I always feel like I lose the game for my team because I do not use my lead to help properly. How do I AFK farm to 6, but still have cacao level pressure on my lanes? Also, what is some good advice for counter jungling, like good ward placements, when to counter jungle and when not to counter jungle? Thanks a lot for reading this essay of an email, Mr. Outstanding. And he linked his op.gg, and he said, P.S. I am a new listener of the podcast and love your guys' content. Please keep up with the amazing work. Last thing, I think a cool eternal could be how much damage Nocturne W has saved you from, and how much damage you've gained by evolving Kazakh's Q versus not evolving it. I think those are two fantastic ones. I love the Nocturne Shield idea. Like, I've blocked X number 1,000 damage. That'd be super cool.
That's really cool. I also love the idea for, like, Kazakh's evolutions of just, like, this is what you would have gotten if you had done this evolution.
It'd be funny if, like Kazakh's Q was bad.
Best.
Yeah. So I've looked at his op.gg. He is now silver, by the way. Man is silver since writing this email, so he's already helped a little bit. But how does he hit gold to get that Victorious skin gold? And that's the real problem.
Just keep listening to the podcast. You subscribe to Patreon at the highest level. You go to twitch.tv/bluebasket. You click the donation link. No, so I'd say, you're Nocturne One Trick, but I don't think Nocturne's super great as, like, a core jungler. But that being said, I think he's totally fine to keep playing. So things to consider. Nocturne definitely is like a gotta farm to 6 character, I think, to be highly effective. So try and work on tracking the enemy jungler and just pinging or typing in chat where they are. Like, enemy junglers taking blue buff, enemy junglers at raptors, enemy junglers at red. Like, if you just constantly are typing where they are in chat or pinging it, that's going to be a huge amount of pressure that you're not creating, but that you're relieving from your team. And I think particularly in silver, they're not going to know where the jungler is. Mm-hmm. So if you can do that for them, that's really going to help. It seems like, and I'm just going to have to take it at face value, you're saying you have a good grasp on actually clearing your camps, making sure your jungle is safe for you to clear. I don't think particularly on Nocturne that you should be doing a lot of counter jungling or doing a ton of ganking until you're 6, and even then it's probably just when your ult's up. But if you are power farming and out farming, a good way to leverage that into a win is to then push that level advantage and that item advantage into heralds and dragons, etc. Because that's going to give stats to the rest of your team. So that's kind of what I'd say. Definitely listen obviously if you're this far, you already got through our section where we talked about current state of the jungle. I would also do a shout out. There is a YouTube channel that does a whole lot of jungle guides. I'm trying to think. Skill Capped. They do a lot of jungle guides and talk about pathing, champion picks, where to ward, when to do the stuff. A lot of good information there if you want some nice, well-produced content on how to improve your jungle.
Yeah, I'm looking at your build. So it looks like you have a static build every game. I don't think there's a ton of things that you want to change up with your build. Like, in theory, Nocturne has a pretty straightforward build. I do think there is merit to some games going Devour. I haven't looked through them like all your games individually, but you always go Warrior, Blue Smite. I do think there's games where Red Smite's better. I do think there's games where Devour is like a possible thing. I didn't think Devour is actually like pretty bad for the most part, but for at least Red Smite versus Blue Smite, I think there's a couple of games where you could probably like decide to pick up Red Smite, just like if they have a more like dueling character or like some more bruisers or their jungler wants to fight you more. I think Red Smite has a huge benefit to being able to actually like take the damage reduction and stuff. Also for like actual core build stuff, if you are like hard smashing a game, I think Spear of Shojin's an underrated item on Nocturne. I don't see you building it any game. It's like obviously if you're super far ahead, I wouldn't build it like core any game, but like it is something to consider. Just like I would recommend like at least looking for different build paths in some games, because it looks like every game you go Blue Smite Warrior, Mobies, Duskblade, GA, Sterix, and then Black Cleaver I think is your last item every game. Yeah, so just like I would recommend like experimenting with different builds. Obviously Nocturne is a character where you just one hit carries and that's kind of your goal, but it doesn't mean that you can't build him as like a little bit more tanky, as a like more of a brawler.
Yeah, cool. So hopefully that helps. Yeah. We're going to move on to the next email from Skaith. Hey guys, longtime listener. So to answer the roundtable question, I have OG PAX Sever that I got for going to PAX, and I'm complete trash at her, which makes me sad because people puke rainbows when I busted out in ARAMs. As for my question, I main Leona. Her Q cooldown change feels so good, and I know I'm really good at her because I have Diamond and Master tier friends who will play Normals with me and coach me throughout the game, tell me I play at a high plat low Diamond level. But the problem I face is when I solo queue and have a person who belongs in Iron as an AD carry, that's my problem, is when I lane to someone who belongs in Iron. Okay. I thought I was going to go on with that sentence. I also listened to Lola podcast as well, and Wise Papa Smurf made a point a while ago that he had to basically dumb down his play as support to climb as support in a lower elo. And I'm wondering if that should apply to me as well. Or should I just go jungle and climb to the point where I have competent AD carries and then go back? I don't know. Suggestions? Anyway, love the podcast. You guys, Skaith. Sent from my iPhone. So there's definitely merit to that.
Yeah.
Where you cannot play at a certain level with people that are significantly lower level. So an example of this is like if I'm playing support when I'm smurfing in like silver, I cannot play support how I play support in diamond. It doesn't work because my teammate's not going to follow me the same way. They're not going to be positioning, like they're not going to punish the same things. So there is something you have to do, but I'd be careful, like, quote, dumbing down your play, because it might become a bad habit then.
Like, the equivalent for jungle, in my opinion, would be like, oh, your team sees that the enemy jungler is bottom side, right? And you know he's bottom side, and you're top side, and you can't do anything about him being bottom side, right? And then, in a perfect world at high elo, your bottom side AD carry and support would play safe and not get ganked by him, right? And that would be fine. They would waste his time, not get ganked by him, cool. But at a lower elo, they might get ganked and die, right? So, in theory, at a lower elo, you might want to start transitioning your way bottom to like counter gank or ping it or do something, right? Whereas at a higher elo, where you know they're not going to die 100%, is not worth your time to path all the way down, you would counter jungle, gank top, or gank mid. Those would be your options, right? So I think adjusting your play based on what your teammates are going to do is always a good thing. Dumbing it down is a weird term though, right? Because at that point you're just misplaying, right? in theory, yeah, at the highest of high ELO, this wouldn't happen. But you could say, look at challenger level of play, right? There shouldn't be solo kills. Like, if everyone was playing the game 100% perfectly, there would be no solo kills in the game. You have to play the game completely differently, right? So it's not like you're dumbing down your play to not play at that level, right? If one of your solo lanes dies and they get mad that you didn't counter gank or weren't like putting pressure, you can't go, well, you didn't play at the highest level of play, right? So I really think it's like your own thing. Like if you need to help your team, even though you don't think it's the best level, like the best, like highest level thing to do, just do it because that's how you win games, I think.
Yeah, and I'd say in general, just specifically to Leona, and I don't know what elo you're currently in, but when you play an engage heavy support like that with a lower skill AD carry, they're not going to know how or when to follow up as well, so you're going to be just running into 1v2s and dying. So maybe consider picking up a character that's not as engage intensive or not as much like with their own body. Like if you play Blitzcrank, it's easy. They hit them when you hook them. If I E in on Leona and my AD carry's just chilling, CSing, like I'm going to take tons of damage because they didn't follow up.
Mm-hmm. If your problem is you're having like problems winning lane, I think Leona and Alistar and those characters are actually really bad because your AD carry doesn't follow up. So I'd play either Enchanters, A, because you're playing to the playstyle of your ELO, or B, play a character like Brand or Xerath or Vel'Koz, where you can solo win a lane just by like playing better than the enemies, just by like damage and stuff like that. Try different stuff. Like honestly, mix it up a little bit. I think you'll have fun. Cool.
So thank you again, Skate, and we're gonna move on to the next one.
Yeah, from the Slater. And he says, thanks guys for your response to my email a fortnight ago regarding Bard transitioning from bots. I think it's good to discuss some things that are relevant for players who have only just started. So thanks for that. An idea for Shaco, particularly his E. Currently, I don't think his E fits this theme, nor is it a decent ability discussed many times before, so I thought of a possible replacement for that. Shaco creates 3 or 4 clones of himself in a line, and if you recast, he switches positions with one of the clones. If an enemy attacks one of the clones, that one explodes, dealing AoE damage, and the other clones disappear, leaving the real Shaco. The idea is that the enemy doesn't know which one is the real Shaco, because he would have switched places with a clone or not, and run the risk of getting damaged if they attack the wrong one. The clones can't move and don't obstruct movement, and will disappear after a few seconds scaling with level, unless attacked or as like previously discussed. A fun part of that could be using it with his ultimate, where Shaco could have a wall of 4 or 5 clones that he has made a stealth. Well, he has made a stealthy getaway, and if any of them are attacked, the enemy is in for a bad time. This probably is a bit too OP, but I thought it'd be cool. Personally, hate playing against Shaco, LeBlanc, Nico, and the like because I am super gullible and end up burning all my abilities on their clones. Also, a short story on my ARM adventures. I was playing Udyr, and there was a Heimerdinger with Mastery 7 with 500,000 points on him. In the lobby, he said, easy game, just don't die. Our Tryndamere then proceeded to go full kamikaze on the enemy team, dying a ton, but taking a few of the opposition out before he died. Well, our buddy Milheim lost his mind and started abusing Tryndamere relentlessly and constantly pinging the question mark ping on him. I stuck up for Trin and told Heim to chill. It was only ARM after all. Who cares? He then AFK'd for the rest of the game. Long story short, Tryndamere finished 12-10 and took all the enemy fire whilst Arvaris tore through the opposition, ended up with 15 kills or so, and carried us to a victory. I did really bad, but let's not talk about that. Milheim went 0-4. It was surprisingly quiet in the lobby afterwards. I found this quite funny and thought it would be good to share. I really appreciate all the hard work you guys put in the podcast, and it really makes my trips to university and back much more enjoyable. Thanks for everything, from the Slater. Cool. I like that ARM story. I think last week on the podcast I mentioned this like lunatic Lee Sin player who like lost his mind in a game and told me like he was like threatening to put me on his int list and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to be diamond at the end of the week sort of thing, because he was platinum 1 at the time. A quick update on that guy, by the way. He is now platinum 4 after playing. This is 8 days, by the way, Colton. In 8 days, he has gone from platinum 1 to platinum 4 after playing 187 games.
Excuse me for a moment while I go vomit.
Isn't that gross, though? Like,
you know, I I want to flame him so hard,
It's just annoying. Like,
I see myself in this story.
it's just like he's obviously a young kid and he's got like mad, and I have been like kind of Cyrus. Like, I'm not gonna ever message him or anything like that, but the fact that he's playing 23.5 games a day and he's not making any progress, and he probably abuses other people, makes me sad that people like that don't get like reported or banned or like chat restrictions or something like that, right? It's crazy to me. As for your other point about Shaco, I do think that is OP. It's a cool mechanic. I think they could somehow like incorporate that to his ultimate. It would be cool. It does sound like what's the Yu-Gi-Oh card? Like the hat with the hats? Yu-Gi-Oh magical hats? Is that what it is? That's what it reminds me of. Just fucking making a line of hats and they have to choose. Yeah, I think it is OP, but it's a cool mechanic that would fit in line with his ability if they could somehow balance it.
Yeah. So thank you for the email, The Slater. And we're going to move on to the next one from I'm a Fishy. Apologies about the OP 5-star review trick. Just wanted to see how you'd react. Anyways, into some more serious discussion. I want to get your thoughts on a few things. First point, how to fix the jungle. Nearly any jungler will tell you there are several problems with the current jungle status, besides red side being massively better, being forced to soak lane XP, being blamed for every problem with every lane, aka salty top laners, and the fact that missing a Rift Scuttle hurts like hell. The core problem is that junglers can impact lanes but are so dependent on them. I believe this can be solved by the following measures. Raise Gromp XP and gold and lower Krug's gold XP and damage. Keep XP of everything else the same. First camp gives bonus EXP, so that any 3-camp combo gives level 3. Next point, introduce the yellow buff, a buff giving attack speed and tenacity. Instead of the buffs respawning in the same spot, there's a rotation. Red and blue start in their same spots every time, but if you kill red, for example, the yellow buff will spawn next. Then red will be the next replacement, so killing red and blue causes yellow and red to spawn, but with yellow spawning in where red was, red going to the blue buff pit, and so on and so forth. Killing blue causes, delay Rift Scuttle to 3 minutes 30 seconds, meaning you have to clear more camps. Increase blue buff CDR to 20%, giving it a bigger edge. Bring back Monster Hunter, but make it, instead of lowering minion golden XP, it makes lane soaking give 65% of the experience to normal laners, and junglers get 40%. Increase spawn times of all camps to 3 minutes, encouraging junglers to clear and prevent super early ganks. Also makes invades hurt like hell, encouraging laners to actually care about the jungler. What do you think this would do to the jungle? So there's a lot to unpack there.
Mm-hmm.
Raising Gromp XP and gold and lowering Krug's gold and XP, I'm fine with that.
Yep.
Bonus XP on the first camp so that you get level 3 with any combo, I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of that yellow buff, interesting.
It's probably OP, I think, regardless of how you do it, is the reality. But
yeah,
I like the
think
idea.
Red and blue are so core to the game. I think if anything, you could make it a thing where like you change the way Scuttle works. So like when you're fighting in that river, you get something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Delaying Rift Scuttle, so you have to clear more camps. I mean, you can clear like 5 camps before going to Scuttle already if you're a quick clear jungler, so
I think it's not a bad idea delaying Scuttle, though. I definitely think there's something like that. I don't think Scuttle's the biggest deal, like, as it used to be. Before, it used to be, like, you live and die off Scuttle. I don't think it's like that anymore. That being said, you still have junglers who try to force it so hard, and then if you're playing a mid that doesn't have prio, you kind of kill your jungler if they want it so bad. I mean, they're misplaying, but then you feel bad because you're not helping them, even though it's not your best play. It's like a weird thing, like right now. I think delaying it would be cool.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be terrible. I just don't think it's maybe entirely necessary.
Yeah.
Blue buff up to 20% CDR. I think the only way you can do this is if you make that, like, the buff scales on if you have a jungle item, because you can't give that to mid laners.
Mm-hmm.
Even then, that's real strong on junglers, too.
Yeah.
changing Monster Hunter, you could definitely do that to change how it affects soaking laning XP. I'd be okay with them relooking at that. And then increasing the spawn time, or I believe he means the respawn timing on camps. The only difficulty with that is that already if you're power clearing, you can clear your entire jungle base and get back out there before the first one respawns. Mm-hmm. So that would add even more downtime where you're just trying to force maybe bad ganks, and I don't love that.
What if they had a mechanic where if you kill something in the enemy jungle, it has a longer timer? I feel like it's a little bit jank. Like, it's a little bit, like...
Yeah.
It's jank, but I like the concept, right?
That's interesting.
Like, they'd have to do something in-game to, like, show that, right? You can't just have it fucking stuff arbitrarily spawn every time. But what if it was, like, the camp's, like, fucking... You know in Civ when you, like a tile gets, like, fucking totaled, and it's, like, burning and everything's, like, on fire and shit? Mm-hmm. If you went and killed, like, an enemy camp, just the camp was just fucked. So you know it was going to spawn later. I feel like that'd be a cool idea, at least. Like, as, like, a way to incentivize... Because counter-jungling's bad right now. Counter-jungling is something that you do when you're super far ahead, because that's all you can do.
Yeah.
It's jank, but I think something that could work, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that being potentially working. And now he goes on to talking about a jungle path. So, is this path reasonable? For a champion like Nunu that has a super healthy clear, start with 2 control wards and Hunter Talisman, drop your trinket on their red buff to see if they're taking it, then if they are starting on blue side, placing a control ward in their jungle. Then transition to your red and gank bot if you're blue side, and top if they're red. You'll be ahead, so it's hard to counter gank. Otherwise, they'll initiate vertical jungling. I think this would be highly effective if you're blue side, since it would be hard to contest Drake. And still effective top, since you can easily bully them until the game becomes a 5v4. So in general, on Nunu, something like that, you can absolutely start. I would recommend just 1 control ward and a single health potion, because you don't really need the potion so much. Get some early vision and definitely path around it, get some control. I think that's the ideal way to play Nunu, is with a control ward and a health potion. So... That being said, I think in general, it definitely could work. Anytime you stick to a singular route in the jungle, that is going to open yourself up to people eventually catching on and playing around it better.
Yeah.
Which isn't a huge problem in solo queue, because you're not going to play against the same people every game, but I try and avoid doing like the same thing every time. And lastly, Nerf Silas, no further comment. Thanks for reading the long email, and I hope it opens up some discussion. I'm a fish.
Hell yeah. Is there anything else that we need to comment on that, do you think?
I don't think so.
Cool. I appreciate the email. That's awesome. Our next one is from Butt Stuff again. This is Butt Stuff's second email, I believe. Maybe. I feel like we had another one. Yep, we did have another one. Cool. Butt Stuff V2. This one, he says, hello, I was just listening to your discussion about if Riot was a greedy company, and want to add my 2 cents. First off, I want to say that Riot is a for-profit company and is owned by another company that expects certain profit turns year over year. I say this because while I think Riot is a greedy company, I don't think anything is wrong with that fact. The part I wanted to point out is that Riot was always a greedy company. It was always a greedy company. It was just in a different way. In fact, I think overall it is better for the free-to-play players now. Yes, loot boxes suck, but all of TFT is free. No meta comps are behind paywall. Behind a paywall the way a league champion could be. Oh, so like for TFT, that makes sense. Speaking of champs, I currently feel with the champs charts, it's way easier to make a bank of characters faster now as well, especially with runes are gone in their old form. I remember when I first started playing League and played the game a ton, being super annoyed that I had to choose between unlocking a cool new character or an in-game stat. When I tried to learn to jungle, I found out all my clears were awful because I had to get armor on my first rune page since I didn't put all that currency in. I had to back on my first clear super soon. I'm also sure I didn't kite well, but it was rough starting before. And now with champion charts, bigger champion rotation, and no movement sequence, that cost that costs as much as a whole champion that you needed 3. The game is way cheaper for the average player. Unfortunately, this has turned into Riot pulling money from whales, and the system is that system is predatory. P.S. God forbid you played mages mid all your life, then you wanted to learn to tank with Ultron system. Hopefully that isn't too long. You're your friend, butt stuff. I feel like that's a great point. Runes were fucking terrible before.
Yeah, that was it was not healthy to have to like grind out all of your runes. Like, I need to build an entire rune page to be able to play a character decently.
Yeah, I completely forgot about how like awful that was for the game.
Yeah. I mean, that being said, like, it was kind of fun, like, when you had them all, but it was shit getting to that point, and it was not reasonable for the average player to have that much. Like, getting all the characters and all of the runes took a lot.
Yeah, it was gross. And also, like, choosing between getting a new character and getting a new rune is, like, such a sad thing to make someone do.
Yeah. You're like, well, I can play this better, or I can play something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think definitely you nailed it when the game is cheaper for the average player, but it's kind of predatory towards the whales. But I think that's kind of how the model moves in general with how things are today, where that huge barrier to entry just doesn't work because there's so many things out there. And as shitty as it is that it's predatory for those whales, I mean, they are choosing to dump money into the game. Ultimately, so
that's true.
I don't love it, but I don't think that it's like the worst way that things could be.
Definitely could be worse, right?
Yeah. And yeah, you nailed it again on the head when it's a for-profit company that is owned by another big for-profit company. Like, they are seeking profits, and if you want to call that like corporate greed, you can. But hey, they're a company, they employ people who depend on this for their livelihood. Like, it's not pure evil, them going for profits. That being said, I think corporate greed definitely exists, and it definitely fucks over a lot of people in the world and creates a lot of inequality. But do I think that Riot Games is a major contributor to that picture? Not really.
No, yeah. I think that's fair.
Yeah, it's not like an Amazon of the world who's billions of dollars and like ignoring human rights. But I don't really want to jump on that soapbox right now.
Yeah.
Even though we're in male fight, so hello to the 8 of you still here. Just kidding. Next email from Burdog. It says, "Hey guys, Burdog again. I just thought I'd update you on my progress for ranked after the advice you gave me on playing what I enjoy versus playing the meta. I decided to screw the meta and say I'm going to play champs I want to play. So I picked Gnar. And dear God, is he fun. In my recent 9 games, I have a 78% win rate. I have climbed up 2 tiers since my last email, and I'm now sitting in silver 2. You don't have to put this on the show if you don't want to. Past joke's on you, it's there. But I thought I'd update you, and holy crap, I didn't even expect my email to be read. I can't believe you guys take the time out of your day to produce amazing content and communicate with listeners on a personal level. It's what separates you guys from other podcasts. Thanks for all you do, except for my iPhone. Thank you, Burdog. Yeah, dude, keep it up. 78% win rate is nutty. Climbing 2 divisions that quickly is really, really good. Hopefully you'll get gold and get that sweet victorious chroma.
Hell yeah. Next we have this one right here. This is a long one from is there no name? Oh fuck. Nick, you fucking no. What if I told you that we don't have access to do you have access to the mail? I don't have access to the mail.
I don't know.
Uh-oh. So what if
this email's from somebody who we really appreciate the email, but someone who will not be named did not copy your name into our doc.
You read it really quick. I'm going to quickly message Nick while you're reading it, and I'll get the name. Sound good?
Okay, I'll do it, yeah.
Yeah.
My friends and I were talking about how the jungle went wrong, and have created the following predictions on new patches to nerf the OP junglers that every laner complains about. This is pretty long, so feel free to skip it. Nah, dude, we reading it. Patch 9.19. If a champion has smite, they can no longer leave base until all other champions are level 3. Patch 9.2. Rift Scuttler no longer spawns until 10 minutes and 30 seconds. Monsters no longer give EXP, gold, or rewards if killed with Smite. 9.21. Rift Scuttler's spawn time delayed until the first inhibitor is destroyed. Only one buff will spawn per game, and if you have Smite, their damage is multiplied by your health total. Patch 9.22. Rift Scuttler spawn is delayed until after the second Baron is killed and the first Elder Dragon is killed by the exact same champion during the 39.45 to 40.00 interval. If an enemy laner believes the jungler execute an unfair gank, then they may report the jungler. Jungle camps no longer give EXP. Monsters actively seek out all champions with Smite and will pursue them until they die. Patch 9.22.5. Rift Scuttler now spawns at the 60-minute mark due to its previously infrequent spawn rate. Smite does damage equal to the champion's level. Monsters are immune to abilities, and any champion who auto-attacked a monster within the last 30 seconds is rooted. Junglers are visible at all times and must type in all chat prior to a gank. Champions with Smite can no longer level up after the 5-minute mark. Patch 9.23, Part A. Rift Scuttler no longer spawns. Any gank executed prior to the 15-minute mark is considered to be player harassment. Any lane that has been ganked once can no longer be ganked. Champions with Smite may only click once per minute. Monsters are invincible and will instantly kill any champion with Smite. Any jungler who doesn't run Smite should be reported. 9.23b. Since the lack of Rift Scuttler unbalanced gameplay, Rift Scuttler will now spawn again, this time whenever a Nexus is destroyed. Patch 9.23, Part C. Summoner's Rift will now be a 4v4 game mode. Any champion who walks into the jungle has 10 seconds to get to a lane, otherwise the player will be shot.
It's like fucking in when you're like in a open world game and there's like a border. If you go outside, it goes, get back to the battlefield. Or like any game really.
Yeah.
I like that.
Oh, wow. I really love that progression.
It's from Ace. I got the email name.
Ace, yeah.
Hell yeah. That's actually really good.
Oh,
That's super
it was
cool.
really funny, yeah. I don't think we really have time or the capacity at this point to comment on each one of those patch notes.
No, I love it though. It's funny.
I like how at the beginning, I thought like for a minute it was going to be kind of serious. Like, it was like, okay, if champion is Smite, they can't leave the base for a while. Like, okay, like, that's tough. And I was just thinking like immediately, okay, so junglers are just going to not take Smite. And then he got into the sillier shit, and I'm like, oh, it was a meme. It was a meme the whole time.
The funniest part, in my opinion, is like, so you remove Scuttle for a while, and then he adds it back in only when Nexuses are destroyed. That's my favorite.
Yeah,
patch
right?
note.
Like, I was waiting for that. Like, it spawned after Inhibitor destroyed. I'm like, okay, so the next one's going to be after the Nexus is down.
Yeah.
Nope, 60 minutes, removed, then Nexus.
That's true. So good.
So thank you again for the email, Ace.
Yeah, this one's from Wolfgang. He says, what's up, fart salads? This question is for the blue sweaty guy. If you have to draft one Twitch streamer to replace a current member of Team Liquid, who do you think could possibly outperform the current members? Show is great, blah, blah, blah. Like it a lot, blah, blah. Hashtag I'm a cutie pie. Fuck. Who are like high lows?
Does Dopa stream?
True. Yeah, that like other than like the obvious answers of like, hey,
TF Blade.
Pro. Yeah, like honestly, someone like TF Blade would probably be your best bet, right? You'd assume.
Yeah.
Who are like aren't pros, but they could be pros if they wanted to not be streamers, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go with TF Blade, or if Dopa streams, I don't know if he does, but if he does, Dopa.
Yeah, my other answer would be like, this would be a year ago. So he doesn't stream or like play that much anymore. Valkyrin, he was the like super high elo support player. He's now the coach for a team. Valkyrin.
He also played a lot of jungle. It wasn't just support.
Yeah, he played he. I think those were his two main roles. He is the assistant coach for Misfits now. Yeah,
Okay,
he was like really good. And super.
I was
knowledgeable.
wondering because I'm subscribed or like I'm following him still, and I just haven't seen him on forever.
He's got bigger and better things, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
Cool.
So yeah, thank you for the email, Wolfgang.
Second last email.
Next email.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was just scrolling down to the bottom to see if this was actually his name or if it was just a meme. So I think it's actually his name. It says, "Hey Vsauce, Michael here. Just wanted to hear you say that." Aiden, do you want to give that a try just so you can fan service him?
No.
Okay. Hi, a scientist here. I took your suggestion for my last email when I asked about another champion to play top besides Shen, and picked up Sion as a more reliable top laner. He can be a bit boring in lane sometimes, but winning trades and teamfights feels so much better than getting counterpicked to Shen. I've also recently picked up the new Pantheon and I'm really enjoying him. I'm still having trouble with a few champions, however, and I'm thinking it's an issue more with the fundamentals of my rank rather than my picks or skills. These champions are those such as Darius, Mordekaiser, Yorick, Urgot, and pre-blendered Garen. They all have crazy resistance, heal, or just health, easy combos, gap closers, damage that doesn't quit, and even if they don't fall off late game, in fact, they can usually carry a team even if they only have a single kill under their belt. I found that these champs are all slow and tend to push hard with their abilities, making them easy to gank. However, being in bronze means I can count the number of good ganks I get every game on one hand, provided that my hand has been cut off. Which happens to be what playing against these champs feels like when I get killed under my turret, trying to play it safe by an Urgot ult or Yorick ult or Mord ult, or Darius' damn passive. Do you have any advice that might help me, especially in solo queue, so I can get to silver and gold and so that I can get some decent ganks? P.S. Riot, why would you blender Garen? I don't like playing against him, but even I feel sorry for the noobs that no longer have a fallback plan, and Garen mains that no longer have a champ. Thanks for the podcast.
I'm assuming he's talking about like when they're changing him to like have like they're changing all of his abilities and making his E like on hit thing. They're kind of like forcing all of his power into his E.
Yeah.
Which I think is better for the game, but I think it's a huge nerf. Garen's like a strong character right now because his W is one of the best abilities in the game, right?
Yeah, it's one of the best abilities in the game, but it's like also just doesn't feel like anything.
Yeah, it feels like shit. But like I was talking to someone on Discord, I believe. We had a Discord conversation where people were wondering why Yuumi Garen's such a strong lane. I'm like, it's because Garen's like ridiculous. The only reason Garen's bad in pro play, like in a solo lane, is because he just gets abused, right? Like he has a shit laning phase and he doesn't get to do what he wants. But Garen's W gives him 1,980 gold worth of stats without the tenacity or damage reduction for 5 seconds. Like that's gross. That's not
crazy,
a balanced character. It's just the fact that he's like a bad character and is slow, but Yuumi allows him to like just run at people and run through people. So I feel like it's good that they're changing him because although he was like a fallback character for like newer players, he wasn't healthy in design. As for his questions, what about his fundamentals and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I mean, definitely, like, having junglers that aren't going to punish these people for pushing up sucks. But I think that's really going to be problematic in any elo, where you just have to get used to playing top lane and not expect to ever get a gank.
Mm-hmm.
And if that means, giving up plates or CS, then do that. Other than that, I mean, get used to tracking the enemy junglers so you can avoid being dove when you get shoved in, and openly communicate with your jungler from the beginning of the game saying, hey, this character will push me in under tower. I have CC, you have CC, they are going to be extended. Easy ganks, and hope that they do something about that. They might not, and then you just kind of have to roll with the punches.
Yeah, that's fair. I kind of agree with all those for like the most part. I feel like it's a little bit hard to like decipher, I guess. Shall we go on to our last email? Thank you, a scientist. Our last one is from Keg again. We got 2 emails from 2 different people, like doubling up. I appreciate it, boys. He says, hey again, Leaguecast, Keg here. I had a really good discussion with a friend yesterday about Mordekaiser and the upcoming Fiddlesticks rework, and because I value your guys' opinion, I want to plug it here. So it's a Fiddlesticks rework idea. So he says passive drain. Fiddle creates a tether to enemy and large monsters. He deals magic damage too. The tether remains until the enemy fiddle is tethered. The enemy fiddle is tethered to walks at a range. Applies a hard CC to fiddle or either of them. To fiddle or either of them die. Okay, that makes sense. Fiddle heals for a percentage of the damage he deals as long as the tether exists. Amplified for the enemy he's draining. Enemies have a cooldown before they can be drained again. Lowers per level. Q, Spectral Call. Fiddle swipes his scythe in the target direction. Enemies hit by the blade heal Fiddle and take bonus magic damage. Enemies hit by the hilt take reduced damage and don't heal Fiddle. Enemies with impaired movement struck by the blade are feared. W, Harvest. Fiddle consumes all tethers currently active, severing them and dealing damage based on missing health. For each enemy killed by Harvest, Fiddle gains percentage maximum health. E, Fetch Me Their Souls. Fiddle summons a small murder of crows at a target area. This has a long range. Think they're Seraph Q after a short delay. Crows erupt in the target area, near sighting and damaging all enemies every second. After 3 seconds, the murder dissipates, blinding enemies inside. Fiddle can recast his ability to cause the murder to explode, slowing enemies instead. If Fiddle walks into the murder, its radius increases. The duration refreshes and duration refreshes and it starts to follow Fiddle until the end of its duration. R, Crowstorm. After channeling for 1.5 seconds, Fiddle blinks to the target location and deals damage around him for 6 seconds. Crowstorm grounds enemies for 3 seconds that couldn't see Fiddle when he began casting the ability. What do you think, Colton?
I really like it. There are some minor tweaks that I would do, but I really like it.
I love the pass. I love the idea of taking a core ability and keeping it but making it like a passive. I feel like they've done that with a couple characters.
Yeah.
I love the idea. Just like it being, it doesn't have to be an ability, right? Why not?
Yeah, no,
cool.
I love the idea of that just being like a passive thing. The idea of him like swiping his scythe across, I love. Right, kind of like a small cone like Darius Q. The W, the consuming the tethers, severing them and dealing damage. I feel like that's actually pretty decent. The E, I think I would change it from, like, I think it's really close, but that'd be the one that I'd definitely want to change around a little bit. And then, like, Crowstorm, I think it's tough because, like, saying, like, they couldn't see him when he began casting the ability, I think is a bit of a strange condition. I think I'd be more okay with it just being, like, it just grounds them for like 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, for like for like a certain amount of duration. Yeah.
And then maybe having it. So I think the Q should be a slow, maybe not a heal, but a slow when the blade hits, and have a pretty low cooldown. And then maybe he should have a slow somewhere else in his kit then, so that if they're already slowed by maybe his W or E, and then he hits them with the scythe, then they're feared.
That'd be really cool.
He should be able to trigger that ability on his own.
But it shouldn't be a point and click.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
So maybe the W, when he pops it, he heals a bunch, he slows them all by like 10-15%, but then his drain is off, right? But then he can fear them and then kind of keep going. I think that could be really, really cool.
Yeah. No, I think it's like a really cool idea for a rework. It's probably like one of the more interesting ones we've seen.
Yeah.
Cool. We appreciate the email, Kag. And that is the end of the show, Colton. Can you believe it? We did it under 2 hours with 20 emails.
Yeah, and without Nick, too.
Yeah, he would have slowed us down.
If Nick was here, it would have been a 5-hour show, and you guys would have hated it, right, listeners?
It's because he can't talk. Yeah, so let's do our plugs really quick. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow us at LeagueCast or LeagueCast for us. Go to our Facebook page at LeagueCast. Join our TeamSpeak server, ts.leaguecastpodcast.com. Send us an email like one of these 20 fine gentlemen, mail at leaguecastpodcast.com. we stream on Twitch sometimes, twitch.tv/bluebasket, twitch.tv/kinglardout. I actually did some streaming through Discord a couple days ago, Colton, just with Discord's Go Live thing.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. How is it?
It has like zero lag, and it doesn't like use any of my band. Like, it doesn't increase my ping at like all when I'm playing. So it's
That's really nice.
really cool. And it also like streams audio properly. So you don't have to hear like anything else on your desktop, just like the game audio. So it's actually really well made. So maybe I'll do some more of that this week. If you super like us, you can go to our Patreon, patreon.com/leakcast. You can support us there. We sometimes release cool content. We're going to do a full rework of that in the upcoming weeks. We'll probably launch that first month of, well, I guess October, because it's already September. Holy shit. And our new website is live as of a couple weeks ago. So you can go to our website, www.leakcastpodcast.com. We have a Discord link on there. Join our Discord community. It's a lot of fun. We have lots of good discussion. Cool. That's the end of the show. Thank you all for watching. Bye.
See you next time.